What do you do when your business feels too hard? When you have to fill in for a team member again and you haven't had a day off in months? When another customer has a last minute request? When you haven't slept well in 2 or more nights and you can't even recall the last time that you had a hot meal that didn't come from a bed? Do you think about pulling the plug, cutting your losses, unsubscribing from the burnout? If you've ever felt this way in your pet business, then you are not alone. And today I'm going through my 4-part process on how I actually wiggle out of these jams, of these challenges, of this mode of ready to throw in the towel already, and actually come out more efficient and more effective without working more. This is the Dog Sitter's House podcast. Now, if pulling the plug and unsubscribing to the burnout is something you feel like you're getting closer and closer to, then don't worry. Rest assured, you are not alone. This is one of the most, if not the most common issue in a pet care profession. The struggle is real, as they say. I should know. I literally worked 2 years straight without a day off. And most of those days were 15 hours long. Now, I'm kind of crazy like that. Determination is my middle name. But if I had to guess, I would say that's something you probably don't want to do. Am I right? You see, part of the reason I worked for 2 years straight, it was not just because I had to work so much in the business. It was also because I was implementing different strategies, different methods, different processes to see what worked and what didn't work. You see, to me, it's always fascinating to see how creative I can get with my solutions to solve all of those problems that are just flying in at you overnight. You know what I mean? Now, all of this was exhausting, yes, but it was also fascinating. And looking back on my journey, I realized there's actually a pattern to my chaos. And this is what saved me multiple times from throwing in the towel and closing up my business. And this is a pattern that you can follow to prevent yourself from giving up, because you haven't failed until you do. I mean, unless you got into the dog business for all the wrong reasons and you realize this is absolutely not your passion, then get out. Go find something that fuels your heart. But if you absolutely love working with animals and you just want to find a way to make it so that you're not exhausted, burnt out, working 24/7, or always handling some sort of chaos or fire that has erupted, then you can follow this 4-part process easily every single time. And since you're listening to me, chances are this is your passion. If you want to plug all of the holes in your business so that you can have more time off on a regular basis, so that you can have less headaches popping up, so you have processes in place for any fires that erupt, then sit back, take notes, and get ready to learn the pattern that has saved me from almost all of my business woes. If you are feeling completely overwhelmed by your pet business and questioning whether this is what you were meant to do, then the first step is to identify the actual problem. Because if you don't, you're solving the wrong problem, which might not even be a real problem. It could just be a symptom of the problem, or what I like to call the root cause. Since words are subconsciously powerful beyond our imagination, I always like to take those negative words like problem and change it to something like challenge or find the root cause, things like that. So we're going to go with that today because we want to start training your mind to using words that are much more powerful subconsciously and will always be running in the background to help you out. But I digress. So let's get back to finding the root cause. Now, if you're a woman, chances are you're going to need to verbalize or Write out all of the issues, all of the things that are driving you crazy, that are making you pull your hair out. Is it customers calling for last minute requests? Is it team members calling off all of the time? Is it that you are not getting enough money each month? Is it that you don't know how much money you're going to make each month? There's a whole host of issues, right? Write them all down, verbalize them to somebody who's a good listener, whatever you have to do. This is really great because it helps you identify the symptoms surrounding the root cause. Now, I'm not saying that's easy to do. Yes, it's easy to vent, like a brainstorm venting session. That's super easy and maybe a little cathartic for a second, as long as you don't get all worked up again. But if you are writing it out, you need to figure out which are the root causes versus which are the symptoms of that root cause. There could be a lot of big roots that seem like could be the root cause, but they aren't. So pay attention, go slow, and be careful. Think it through. And here's the trick. You want to look for connections. You'll know when you're at the root cause of your issue, your problem, your challenge, when you can see all of the connections, all of the symptoms are connected to it. And these are typically challenges that you experience on a repetitive basis. A great example of this is when I was working 15-hour days. It was not uncommon for it to be 8, 9 o'clock at night with me sitting down with my meal that is already cold and texting back a bunch of customers who were asking at the last minute, the night before, if they could reschedule their dog's daycare day. And I would be sitting there trying to rework the schedule and see what days I had available and make sure their dog would be okay with the other dogs on that day. And oh, now I have to go and ask my team to change their shifts up, possibly, because that changes everything as far as my needs for each day. And let's be honest, that just made my team hate their job. And on top of it, I never even got to eat a hot meal in peace. So reschedules were definitely one of my root causes causing all these additional symptoms. Rescheduling in my small scale business model just didn't work. I wasn't a 100-dog capacity daycare facility. I couldn't keep team members on hand 24/7. However, if I didn't allow my customers to reschedule, I could be out of the income. But if I did, it caused utter chaos. It was a snowball effect that created all of these other challenges in my business. Not having a consistent income adds all this financial distress. Never knowing if you'll earn enough month to month. And you know what that means? That means that you're living in constant survival mode. And I wanted out of survival mode. So this was another symptom. Always being in survival mode, having this constant financial stress, allowing my customers to reschedule at the last minute over and over again, just compound all of the issues and they snowballed one on top of the other. So just like that, you want to go through all of the challenges that you're having and you'll start to see a cobweb how they connect. So I'm kind of talking in metaphorical land, riddles here, but hopefully you get my point. What I'm trying to say is look at all of the issues, challenges, problems, symptoms, whatever you call them, everything you dislike, all of the things that cause chaos. Look at them all with a magnifying glass so that you can get a really great view of the root cause. Because when you solve the root cause, you solve all of the other symptoms that come along with it, like the domino effect. Once you've found what you believe is the root cause to your challenges, what I do next is marinate on what my ideal solution would look like. This is where you get to dream a little dream, right? You get to imagine what it would be like if you could fix all of these challenges and do so without any inhibitions, without any of that quote unquote, what's realistic in the back of your mind. Imagine that you can wave that magic wand and no matter what, it can come true and figure out what that ideal solution would look like. Whether you have one, two, or three different ideas, go through them and determine how many symptoms of the root cause, including the root cause, would that solution treat? This is step two. Can you come up with an ideal, customized solution for you, for your business? You see, it's really just like a relationship, right? You have a conflict with your partner, and you have to identify what the real issue is, what the real challenge, the root cause of what that conflict is before you can even begin to figure out a solution. And then once you've both identified that that's probably the root cause of the issue between you, you can both get creative in finding a solution that works for both of you. This is the same thing when it is your business. You have to find a creative solution that works for both your business and yourself. Because when your business talks back to you, it's like throwing punches of chaos at you, one after the other, left hook, right hook, left hook, and you can't come up for breath. So you don't want that. Now, on a side note, it is extremely important to be humble during this process, to be very honest with yourself, because you have to assess first if you are the root cause, if you are the issue. Are you the problem in your business? Because we've all been there, even if it's just a small part of the problem that you're playing. That role can affect all of the other symptoms. So you have to get really honest and look in the mirror and be ready to be humbled, which is not something I'm very good at, to be honest. But if you want things to improve, to stop questioning your life decisions, then you're going to want to make sure you are humble. It is a non negotiable trait. Next, to solve the challenges in your business faster, you want to choose one of the solutions you came up with and implement it as fast as you can. Implement it yesterday. I don't care if this means that you have to stay up late working on it, get up early, and work on it every single time the dogs are napping or you're eating a meal. The quicker you start implementing this solution or possible solution, the quicker you'll find out whether or not it actually works. Because the only way, the absolute only way to know if it's really going to work is to try it. Try it on. You don't go out and buy a cocktail dress without trying it on, do you? No, you try multiple cocktail dresses and quickly determine which one is not the one for you. This is the exact same thing. Try your solutions until you figure out which one is the right one versus the wrong ones. You know the saying, fail forward. So long as you're learning ways to solve the root cause of your challenges, you're moving forward. You're not failing. And that's the direction you want to go, right? But here's the hardcore truth. This is not something you can learn from a podcast episode, but there are secret ingredients in order to make all of this work. And these secret ingredients are knowing, courage, and resilience, in that order. First, you have to know with every ounce of your being, not just believe, okay, but actually know that it's going to work out. If you don't already know with every ounce of your being that it's going to work out one way or the other, then you're not going to have the courage you need to take action. And when you do take action, here's where the resilience kicks in. Because I guarantee you, everything is not going to go smooth as molasses. In fact, it's likely to get harder before it gets easier, at least for a short amount of time, if only because you're adding more things to your plate by implementing a new solution. After you've implemented this new solution, you want to take a step back. You want to be a fly on the wall and you want to assess, is it working? What is working? What isn't? And just make the necessary tweaks as you go. Now, if the entire thing isn't working and you try a couple tweaks and it's still not working and it's made a bigger issue than what you started with, that might not be the right solution. That might not be the right cocktail dress. Go get another one. Change sizes. Whatever you have to do to get it to the point where it looks like your dream a little dream that you envisioned in step 2. Until you solve the repetitive challenges that you face month after month, you're going to continue being in a reaction mode, never action. And you see, therein lies the difference. Taking action and reacting causes two completely different results, and they can be good or bad. When making a decision from a reactive state, the justification for the solution is based on eliminating that which you fear most by any means necessary, which means no matter what the consequences. By contrast, when you make a decision from an action state of mind, you're forward thinking it through and creating a solution from the end in mind first. Increasing the odds, you'll end up exactly where you envisioned yourself being. And that's it. It's really that simple. Simple, but not easy. Because as I mentioned, it takes knowing, it takes courage, it takes resilience. And not just one of these traits, but all three of them combined. This episode was actually inspired by my belated my grandmother, who just passed away about a month ago. She was 97 years old. May she rest in peace. And her superpower was all of these traits. And the resilience shined through that fateful day where she had this massive stroke. She was in the ICU. She couldn't speak. She could barely write, but she was determined to write out, "I will not give up." Here lived a woman who had aches and pains every single day. They had to rely on a lot of people for help just to get through the day, and who had terminal cancer. She'd just given up her condominium and moved into an assisted living. A massive, scary change for her. And yet, she remained resilient. She was still fighting for her life. She was still determined not to give up. And it's this core decision that we make inside of ourselves, that conviction that we're not going to give up no matter what. We will always find a way that will lead you to the answers, that might lead you to this podcast episode to help you with the process of getting out of any jam in a way that is even better than you could have imagined to begin with. Because the truth is, my grandmother wasn't some superhero. You have these traits inside of you already. And the more you use them, the more you try them on, the easier it gets and the stronger they become. It just takes a willingness to start. So remember, anytime the chips are down and you're thinking about just giving it up, try something new. Be willing and follow this 4-part process. Be the buffalo. The buffalo run into a storm as fast as they can to get through it faster. So be the buffalo. It's the quickest way out. So identify the root cause. Marinate on the dream. Choose a solution. Implement and tweak it. These are the 4 steps to get through any challenge you have in your business. Hopefully this helped you out today. Please do me a favor. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and leave me a comment telling me what was your biggest takeaway from this today. Let's help others out by sharing what it is we're going through. And until next time, happy tales to you.